Hi, I'm Dave Wurzel, and you're watching PHTV4. This is Bookshelf, and on Bookshelf we look at a variety of books from a variety of categories, and to do some of those recommendations, we have special co-host guests with us today, Matt Makowski, who's the head of public services at Palos Heights Library. Matt, thank you for being here.
My pleasure as always.
And this is a great list you put together. I snuck one in on my own that I'm going to mention first. But let's jump right. We're going to look at July releases, but I've got one that came out earlier this spring that we recommended earlier this year. I just finished reading it. I kind of want to bring attention to it again. That's Small Mercies by Dennis Lehane. Dennis Lehane is a very popular author. He's written, several books. He's also a script writer for TV and for movies. And this one, Small Mercies, is set in Boston in the 1970s when they're against the backdrop of integrating some high schools or schools. And it's an incredible story. It's intense. The language is intense at times. But against that backdrop of Boston in the 70s, you're going to meet Mary Pat, who is an incredible character, a mother, and she has a teenage daughter who stays out late one night and doesn't come home. That same evening, a young black man is found dead, struck by a subway train under mysterious circumstances. And that is where the story unfolds. And so that kind of mystery crime thing taking place against the backdrop of the integration, it's a powerful story. Superb thriller, described by one critic. Definitely recommend it. All right, let's jump into the July releases. And man, I'm going to turn to you. Our first category is Historical Fiction Part 2 in his Harlem Saga. What have you got?
So yeah, Colson Whitehead, of course, he's just crushing it lately. Underground Railroad, Harlem Shuffle, and now Part 2 of that, Crook Manifesto. It's coming out July 18th. And speaking of the 1970s, this one is set in 1970s New York, and it's specifically 1971. They have trash piling up in the streets, crime is at an all-time high, and the city is careening towards bankruptcy. So things are kind of dire. There's a shooting war between the NYPD and the Black Liberation Army, and amidst this collective nervous breakdown, a furniture store owner and ex-fence named Ray Carney tries to keep his head down and his business thriving. It's described as a darkly funny tale of a city under siege, but also a sneakily searching portrait of the meaning of family. So,
interesting descriptors there. Yeah. Darkly funny, city under siege, meaning of family. But I have read, I've read one of his books before. Good. He's a good writer,
yeah,
for sure. And this sounds interesting. I might have to visit the Harlem Saga.
Yeah, definitely. Award-winning books. So.
Yeah. All right. Our next category is supernatural thriller. This is Silver Nitrate by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. She's written two other books that did very, very well. One of them, Mexican Gothic, which I read, which is a very entertaining book, very interesting. The other one is The Daughter of Dr. Moreau, kind of a reference to Dr. Moreau from a science fiction movie, other book set. Anyway, in this one, we get a dark thriller about a curse that haunts a legendary lost film and awakens one woman's hidden powers. I'm curious just because of who the author is, and she's a very entertaining writer, very fast reads, supernatural thriller, checks a lot of boxes there. All right, next category. I know you requested this.
Of course.
All right, maybe not, but fell that way. Matt, we're in the romantic comedy category. What have you got?
So, Hello Stranger by Catherine Center, coming out this July. It's a July rom-com read. Yeah. The description here, love isn't blind, it's just a little blurry. Sadie Montgomery never saw what was coming, literally. 1 minute she's celebrating the biggest achievement of her life, placing as a finalist in the North American Portrait Society competition, and the next, she's lying in a hospital bed diagnosed with a probably temporary condition known as face blindness. She can see, but every face she looks at is now a jumbled puzzle of disconnected features. So, this is her new reality. She's trying to deal with it, but maybe she'll fall in love. with this condition.
I was going to say, the condition sounds serious, but we know it's a rom-com, so things are going to work out. Probably a marriage or a wedding in the end, but ultimately still a love story.
Right. Like, you know,
Okay.
a summer popcorn read,
Right.
I'm sure.
Good. All right, next category is a murder suspense thriller by Michael Corita. I've read books by this author, another entertaining author. This one is An Honest Man. The premise might grab you right away. Opens with a yacht full of bodies, a woman hiding from killers on a nearby island, and a man trying to prove his innocence and save his life. So this breathtaking thriller from this New York Times bestselling author. You can see it jumps right into the action. I mean, what a, like just that opening. Okay, I guess here we go. Israel Pike is a killer, and he was an honest man. They were not mutually exclusive. After discovering 7 men murdered aboard their yacht, including 2 Senate rivals, Israel Pike is regarded as a prime suspect. A troubled man infamous on Salvation Point Island for killing his own father a decade before, Israel has few options, no friends, and a life-threatening secret. So again, another, I think that you're going to find this as a fast, entertaining summer read here.
For sure.
Okay, next category, we've got wise, and I pulled this quote, I loved it, a wise and witty drama of small town life. Go ahead, Matt, what have you got here?
So this is Somebody's Fool by Richard Russo. He's a Pulitzer Prize winning author of Empire Falls, and this returns to a small town in upstate New York called North Bath. And we revisit the characters that captured the hearts and imaginations of millions of readers. So it's set 10 years after the death of the magnetic Donald Sully Sullivan, and the town of North Bath is going through a major transition as it is annexed by its much wealthier neighbor, Schuyler Springs. Peter, Sully's son, is still grappling with his father's tremendous legacy, as well as his relationship to his own son, Thomas, wondering if he has been all that different of a father than Sully was to him. Meanwhile, the town's newly consolidated police department falls into the hands of Charisse Bond after the resignation of Doug Raymer, the former police chief, and Charisse's ex-lover. And then a decomposing body turns up in an abandoned hotel, and
So we've got a murder mystery, probably some other things, and obviously people who are familiar with their series, there's a chance to revisit those characters 10 years down the road. All right, sounds like another good read. All right, next category we're going to take a look at is historical fiction thriller. That's how it's described, but then a critic described it as nostalgia noir. I don't know, I love the, I'm not sure what that means. I love the description of it, nostalgia noir. Not set in the 30s or 40s or 50s like maybe we associate some of those noir books. Flags in the Bayou by James Lee Burke is a novel set in Civil War era Louisiana as the South transforms, and a brilliant cast of characters, enslaved and free women, plantation gentry, battle-weary Confederate and Union soldiers are caught in this maelstrom, right? So it's the fall of 1863. The Union Army is in control of the Mississippi River. Much of Louisiana, including New Orleans and Baton Rouge, is occupied. The Confederate Army is retreating towards Texas and being replaced by Redlegs, irregulars commanded by a maniacal figure, and enslaved men and women are beginning to glimpse freedom. Another great author here. Sounds like a very interesting premise of story. Great historical fiction to take a look at here.
Yeah.
All right, our next category is, and I'm going to have to embarrassingly admit, I know who these characters are. It was labeled the cozy culinary mystery category or amateur sleuth category, and some of you who are familiar with this category, I think these have been made, several have been made into Hallmark movies.
Oh, yeah.
What have you got, man?
It's Pink Lemonade Cake Murder by Joanne Fluke. Of course, cozy mysteries, people love these books. And she's back with another mouth-watering Hannah Swenson mystery. And in this one, the Tri-County Summer Solstice celebration has come to town. And even among local artisans, athletes, and marching bands, Hannah attracts fans of her own while serving lip-smacking pink lemonade desserts. But the mood sours when a body turns up, as always, leading revelers to wonder if the festivities mark both the longest day of the year and the deadliest.
Wow.
So,
We got a lot going on here. I'll say I know some of these. I don't know how many have been made into Hallmark movies. That cozy mystery category has become incredibly popular.
for sure.
There's a whole slew of those types of mysteries, and they are fun reads. They move fast and they're entertaining, and they're good. All right, we got one more July that we're going to give a nod to, and that's in the action, thriller, and suspense category. I'm sorry, I had to grab this one. I don't know if you wanted it, but this is After Death by Dean R. Koontz. Dean Koontz, one of my favorite authors. I've read several of his books, and I like him. I mean, I think he's clever, creative. He works some unique angles, and this one is going to sound like it to you for sure. A Modern-Day Lazarus is humanity's last hope in a breathtaking novel about the absolute power of good and evil. Michael Mace, head of security at a top-secret research facility, opens his eyes in a makeshift morgue 24 hours following an event in which everyone perished, including him and his best friend, Shelby Shrewsbury. Having awakened with an extraordinary ability unlike anything or anyone else has ever imagined, Michael's capable of being as elusive as a ghost. He sets out to honor his late friend by helping Nina Dozier and her son John, who Shelby greatly admired. Although what Michael does for Nina is life-changing, his actions also evoke the wrath of John's father, a member of one of the most violent street gangs in Los Angeles. And this is typical Dean Koontz stuff. He'll sometimes roll in a supernatural element to some very real thriller type stuff. So I'm looking forward to this. This will give me a chance to revisit his writing style. We do want to mention there are several other books coming out, obviously in July, some big names that you're very familiar with. James Patterson has Obsessed coming out, Daniel Silva, The Collector, Must Love Flowers by Debbie McComber. There's another one of our romance comedy Hallmark type books. Joyce Carol Oates, another big name author, has Zero Sum Stories, a collection of short stories. So you got a big variety of books coming out and some real, I think, entertaining summer reads.
Definitely. A lot to look forward to.
Yeah. So Matt, thank you for putting this list together. Thank you for doing the previews of these books. I'm Dave Wurzel, and you've been watching Bookshelf with my co-host Matt Miakowski, and we've been giving you a preview of some July releases. Thank you for watching, and good reading.